Happy Neuropride Day! I would like to celebrate with everybody today who is watching life as an autistic ADHDer. So if you're autistic or an ADHDer or both like myself, or if you know anybody who is, then I hope that this little celebration will make you smile and feel good about yourself, because all too often we just hear very negative things about autism and ADHD. They are usually quite deficit based, but I think that it's very important to have a look at our strengths and to realize that all kinds of like personal struggles, impairments, limitations that we might have might be connected to a strength as well. So to say, a struggle and a strength could be two sides of the same coin. So I hope that some of what I'm going to say is going to resonate with you today. So one of the things that I often see or come across online is some form of a Venn diagram that shows what kind of traits autistic people have and ADHD is and how they might overlap. But those diagrams are always very negative and very deficit based and always focus only on the things we struggle with. So one day I saw one of them, and the autistic ADHD person I am, I just spontaneously decided to make my own diagram. And this is by no means like scientific or anything. It's also not just for me to promote myself. Look at how many great traits I have. But this is based on my interactions, my daily interactions with wonderful people who are autistic or ADHD or both. And I just would like to celebrate our strengths today. So one of the things we often get accused of is that we have social communication deficits as autistic people. I think that's not fair. I think that it's a misrepresentation, that we just communicate differently. And one of the things that happens is that from an early age, most of us realize that we communicate differently and that we don't intuitively get many things that other people just kind of pick up. So we have to learn a lot of things manually that would be just kind of automatically acquired by neurotypicals. That also means, however, that a lot of us are extremely good at being analytical, because we constantly have to analyze and question and understand cause and effect within any kind of interaction we have with people. So in a way, we research the people around us from a very early age, and that just gives us this kind of, I don't know, like a director's commentary, a running commentary that we have that helps us analyze society a little bit, and I think that's true for a few of us anyway. Another thing that we are often accused of is some kind of obsessive need for closure. And it's definitely true that a lot of us are perfectionistic, but I would also argue that we are very persistent. So, for example, if myself or another autistic person has a goal and we really want something, then we will persist and we will try again and again and again, and we will do it. Another thing that is often said about us is that we don't like uncertainty, which most certainly is true for many autistic people. We always need everything planned out. But that can also be a strength, because a lot of us are extremely good at planning, anticipating problems, and coming up with multiple potential solutions. So I think that that's a very great skill to have as well. And yeah, I think something that is a bit more like famous about us is that we have great attention to detail. I think together with our persistence and our planning skills, this can help us a lot with whatever project we want to achieve. And I think that often we are told that we show repetitive, restrictive behaviors and interests. I think that's another very kind of insulting diagnostic criteria, to be honest, because a lot of the repetitiveness, it brings us joy, like in stimming, like hand movements, visual effects, sound effects that just bring us joy. So I don't think it should be seen as negative, but also if we are good at being repetitive, it can also help us be more meticulous and to achieve our kind of projects. Another thing that we are often accused of is having restrictive interests, which I find also quite insulting, because we just have deep interests, and a lot of people would have deep interests, so why do you have to medicalize that? I think it's great that so many autistic people, I think almost everybody I know, has at least one or two, or sometimes a dozen interests that they're super into and that they are actually experts in. So I think that that's really great, and I think we should celebrate our interests more. Now, on the ADHD side of things, we are often told that we are just too hyperactive, but I would say that we're enthusiastic, and I think that that can bring great energy into any kind of group. Another problem that many ADHD people have is that we can't hold down a job because we get bored. But on the other hand, it's also a lot more likely that we become entrepreneurs and found our own business. I think a study in the US has shown that we are 6 times more likely to found a business. I would have to find the sources, but I think from my personal anecdotal experience, it's true that we like to start our own projects. And we're often also accused that we are always on the go or that we're unprepared, but we're also great in emergencies. We're quick on our feet. We are very adaptable people, and I think that's a great skill to have. Another thing that we're often accused of is impulsivity, but I would say that many ADHDers I know are bold and spontaneous and flexible and adaptable and versatile. So I think these are also traits that we should celebrate. And we are often accused of the opposite of the autistic side, that we, as ADHDers speaking, are too jumpy, that we just change our jobs, our place where we live, our projects, our studies all the time. But I would argue that that can have benefits too, because we have many different interests. So if you combine autism and ADHD, it sounds very contradictory and it sounds hard to navigate, which it definitely is. But it also combines a lot of strengths. For example, if you are an analytical person, but also versatile and flexible. If you are very deeply interested in some fields, but also have many different interests. I think that these two complement each other very well. And some traits that I've found with or in people who are either autistic or ADHD or both, I think in almost everybody I've ever met is, for example, that we are intrinsically motivated. It means that we are motivated to act in the world, to do things based on our own interests, our own ideas, and our own values, not based on rewards or money or social status or things like that, which makes therapies that are based on changing people's behavior with punishment and rewards like ABA even more damaging, because they couldn't be less suitable to our kind of minds. I mean, all of this will tell you that we just bring a new perspective to life. We think and feel outside the box, and a lot of us have a very strong sense of justice as well. So we question the status quo, and we question social structures and constructs that we've always done this way traditionally. You know, we don't believe, most of us don't believe in this kind of argument, this kind of fallacy to say, well, we've always done it this way, so we should always do it that way. Now, if you combine some traits like creativity and being unconventional and being analytical, then you will almost automatically get somebody with a sense of humor. And I think the most hilarious people I know are autistic or ADHDers or both. So you should definitely check out some of our comedians like Hannah Gadsby. And I'm sure you will agree with us. And another thing that is often a real problem for many of us is sensory and emotional sensitivities. Like a lot of us, for example, I'm very sensitive to noise, I'm very sensitive to smells and lights and life, and I'm emotionally sensitive too, but I think that it's also important to realize that that being sensitive is, in a world that is so harsh sometimes, can be a real asset. It can be a really positive trait because we are more open, we're more, I don't know, maybe a bit kinder, maybe a bit more in tune with different things, and maybe a bit more curious about the world and about people and about everything. I think that most autistic ADHDers that I know who are adults still have this kind of curiosity that we have as children, and then we kind of just lose it, and I think that's very sad. I think it's great to keep this kind of open-mindedness and curiosity. And of course, everybody is different, and any person can have any combination of those traits. But I'm pretty sure if you're watching right now and you're autistic or an ADHD or both, that you have at least some of those strengths and traits. So I hope that today you can just take 5 minutes, or even if you are a family member or a friend, just take a few minutes and think about what this person's strengths are and what you really love about this person. Because we often focus too much on all the kind of struggles And I don't think that most of the struggles we face are caused by us being autistic or by us being ADHDers, but they are caused by a society or by an environment that is not made with us in mind. And often the interactions, if there is some problems, it's not just one-sided. It's not just the autistic person, the ADHD person doesn't understand how to human. No, it goes both ways. I think there is this kind of mutual misunderstanding, and it would be great if we could come together and just celebrate together our strengths today. So here's a little poem I wrote about being autistic and ADHD. And I'm not the best at reciting poetry, so bear with me or just read it on the screen if you prefer. It's called I Swing. I swing between order and chaos, safety and variation, routine and novelty, gratitude and indignation, stillness and decay. There's no middle way. Cynical and curious, sanguine and furious, excited and exhausted, restless and serene, imperfect, pristine. There's no in between. I swing. So thank you very much for celebrating being an autistic ADHD with me today. I hope that some of the things that I said resonated with you, but if not, if you struggle with seeing the positive side of things, just know that you're not alone and that you can be still very proud of yourself because existence is hard and we don't get enough credit for it, especially as neurodivergent people sometimes. So yeah, let's celebrate today and maybe sit for a second or a moment and think about it. What do you love about being an autistic person or an ADHD or a both? And if you're a family member, a friend, a partner of a neurodivergent person, think about what do you really love about them and just let them know today. I think Neuro Pride Day is a very good occasion for that and we're not being told often enough. So let's just spread the joy and the pride and I will talk to you soon. Happy Neuro Pride Day. Bye.